Welcome to Lola's Frugal Life Podcast. If you're on a mission to be more frugal with both your time and money, you're in the right place. In this podcast, we talk about topics that help enhance living a frugal lifestyle. The goal is to save time and money where we can so that we can use the rest on what matters most to us. We talk a lot about both time and money management so that we can waste as little as possible on both. We do this while also embracing a progress over perfection mindset. If that sounds good to you, then please stick around for the latest episode right after a few quick words from our sponsor. Hi everyone, welcome back to Lola's Frugal Life Podcast. Today I wanted to talk about managing our limited time. Managing our time can be difficult when we feel pulled in so many directions. We often have home maintenance and cleaning tasks we need to take care of, maybe some appointments to be made, work or other projects that need attention, time to rest, and time for fun. And while it seems obvious when planning your time and how to make the best of it, don't forget that our time is limited. Due to the natural limit of the amount of time we have in our day, we have to remind ourselves that no matter how much we stress over a list of things that would really take 3 days to do, it's not possible to get those all done today. So having an unrealistic to-do list for one day does nothing but create stress that cannot be resolved because there's no way to do an excess number of things on our list. We have to really recognize that our time is limited, and therefore so should be the list of things that we would like to accomplish in one day. If there are more tasks on your list for the day than what is even remotely possible to get done, something needs to go regardless of how important they all seem. And when we feel overwhelmed with what we tell ourselves we have to get done, we might end up procrastinating and getting little or nothing done anyway. So knowing that you have your time planned out in a way that more often than not you're going to make progress is such a huge benefit to our stress levels and our happiness, because when we tell ourselves all these things have to get done today and we know there's literally no way of that happening, there's really no benefit to us, and more is not just magically going to get done. So it's really important to recognize the fact that our time is limited, and we often feel like we have more time available to get things done, and we also imagine that sometimes things take less time to get done. Like, I know there used to be, at work in my professional job, it was just such a long period of time, and I do get back to it sometimes also, this bad habit of piling so many things into one day that there's no realistic way I could possibly get all these things done. And then I just look at the list and it's overwhelming. And sometimes I'll just wind up spending time just staring at the list because I don't even know where to start. So it's really just so important to recognize the fact that we have a limited amount of time each day. And although we all know that, our to-do lists often don't reflect that. So it's just really try to remind yourself that no matter how much you'd like to get certain things done, there's no reason to be stressing over trying to get an enormous amount of things done that really aren't even possible to be done in one day. So it's what I find really helpful, and a lot of people find helpful, is planning your day in advance. I'm not saying that you have to know minute by minute what you're going to do each day, but taking some time to look at your calendar and decide what you'd like to accomplish on a particular day can be much more productive than waiting until the morning of that day to start to try and decide what you will do. You don't want to plan to work on a project that's going to take hours only to realize you already had several appointments on your calendar that are going to take up most of your day. By looking ahead, you can really set realistic expectations about what you can actually work on in a day and how much time you should have available to work on it. Planning in advance can be done weekly or even the day before. And you want to pick a time when you have maybe lower energy to sit down and plan your day, because it doesn't take a lot of effort to plan what you're going to do on a future day. So you don't want to waste time that you could be getting something else done that requires a good amount of energy to get done, and use that time to be planning another day. Maybe do it at the end of the day or on your lunch break, or when you're kind of not really going to be doing anything major at that time anyway, and just kind of think ahead on what you would like to get done on a particular day in advance. You also want to make sure you try and schedule the things that you want to prioritize. Very often there are things that we say we would like to do when we have more time. If we make these things a priority in our schedules, we often find that we can squeeze in time to do them. For example, as some of you know, I own and ride horses, and 3 days during the week and 1 weekend day I schedule to be at the barn. By putting it on my schedule, I make it a priority, and if something else potential comes up for that time, most often I say I can't do it because I'll be at the barn at that time, same as if I had work or another appointment. And do I often tell myself, I really don't have time to go to the barn today, I really should skip it, I have too much stuff to do, I have laundry to do, I got to make dinner, I got to do whatever million other things I have on my list? Yes. There's definitely many days where I tell myself I really don't have time to go. But most often I make myself put those other things out of my mind and stick to my schedule, and I never regret sticking to this part of my schedule. It's something I really enjoy and it's really important to me, and instead of telling myself I don't have the time, I make the time. And, yes, sometimes there are those days where I'm just like, I really have to get these things done and I'm just going to skip going today. But more often than not, I make myself go and I prioritize it and nothing bad happens. So it's really important to prioritize at least some time for doing the things that you love. We usually can find some time if we really make an effort. Another thing that's really helpful in managing our time is having a master to-do list. As we all know, while we're in the middle of doing something, we think of something else we need to get done in the future. And without having a place to keep track of those random things that come up, we can really let them distract us from what we're currently doing because we think we're going to forget. Or sometimes we might just stop what we're doing and go do that other thing. And that's not only distracting, but it's also not efficient to bounce from task to task if we're really trying to focus on something. So by having a master to-do list, we can quickly jot down the tasks that we thought of and not have to worry about it until the time comes to tackle it. If you're out and about when you think of something, it's good to have a process in place to temporarily hold those notes until you can put them on your master to-do list. You might want to email yourself, text yourself, or put it in the notes on your phone, assuming you're going to go back and recheck it. But having a process to get things to a master to-do list is really helpful because once you have something on your master to-do list, you don't have to worry that you're going to forget about it, and you can stay focused on what your current priorities are. But the thing with the master to-do list is it's something to refer to figure out what you want to work on any particular days or given amount of time. But it's not something that you want to actually have in front of you to be checking off from. For some people, that might be fine. But for many of us, looking at this massive to-do list can be overwhelming. We waste time figuring out what we want to do next in between each task. And it doesn't really feel great to check off 2 or 3 things from a list of 25 items, or maybe even more. So it can often be better when planning what to do for a particular day to refer to that master to-do list once and pick 2 or 3 things that you'd really like to get done that day and have that new list in front of you. Because checking off 2 or 3 things from a list of 2 or 3 things feels a whole lot better than checking off a couple of things from this giant master to-do list. And if you do end up having more time to get something else done, you can always refer back to it and pick another item. But once you have that little bit of list, at least you feel like you've accomplished something major, and then you're just going back for something else. You don't have to keep re-looking at that master to-do list and reanalyzing it each time in between each task, trying to figure out what to do next. Another thing that's really helpful in managing our time is managing our energy. We all have certain times of the day when we have more energy than at other times. Certain tasks require more energy than others to complete also, so it's important to manage what you expect to get done with periods of time that match that energy. If you're a morning person like me, you probably want to tackle your most energy-draining tasks first thing, but if you prefer to work at night, then maybe save those tasks for later in the day. Having a mix of to-do items that require higher and lower amounts of energy can really be helpful in figuring out how you want to kind of plan out what to work on and when. When your energy has gotten lower, it's great to still feel like you can get something done without exerting too much effort. And you also don't want to burn yourself out by picking only major energy draining things to do throughout the day. because I'm sure we've all had those days where we just work like crazy, and then it comes time for like dinner or anything else functional that has to be done, and we're just like, I just can't do anymore. So it's really important to recognize what things are going to happen at other times of the day and make sure that you don't completely burn yourself out too early and then not be able to complete the other things that you'd like to do before the day is over. And of course, really importantly is you want to make sure you create time for breaks and longer periods of fun things to do. Time management isn't just important so that you can get more things done. Life is not just about getting things done. We want to be able to get what needs to be done as efficiently as possible so that we can have time to do the things we enjoy. When planning out your days and weeks, make sure that you are planning time slots that allow you to take breaks and have time for things that you find fun or relaxing. Often planning for these things in advance does make them more likely to happen. One thing that I have found really helpful, just for finding things to do, in addition to the, my horse things that I do, and I do some gardening and there's other things that I do, but when I want to just kind of like take the family out to do something, I have found Facebook events really helpful. Like we just recently went to a local art show. I know there was like a big like flea market recently. We went to a local farmer's market. Like there's a lot of events on there, and I'm sure there's other resources too. But just by kind of looking and finding these things and putting them on the calendar, there's a much higher probability that we will actually go out and attend those things rather than just kind of being like, oh yeah, we should probably do something. And then we just kind of waste away the day doing nothing, and then next weekend comes and we would like to maybe do something, but then we just kind of wander around, maybe I don't know, doing whatever random things, and nothing really happens. But when I put those events on my calendar and I see it and everyone might be home, I'll be like, hey, do you guys want to go to this art show or whatever it might be? So if you find that you like to do more things but you're not really sure what to do, or you find that you just let the time go by and you don't go out and do those things, then maybe look and find some things that are going on locally and put them on your calendar. And if you don't go, you don't go. But at least by seeing it on that calendar, it can often prompt you to maybe go out and do something that you wouldn't have necessarily done. Either way, regardless if it's going out to events or just spending a day like working on your garden or planting seeds or reading or whatever it is that you enjoy doing, it's really important to plan out for those things and really prioritizing it for yourself to do. Because it can be way too easy to just kind of do little bits of random things and let the time waste away. That's actually often what happens when we feel like we have an extended amount of free time. We might feel like we have so much time that we don't have to really put effort into it because we're like, oh, we have so much time, we could just chill out. But then if you wind up spending that time just kind of randomly scrolling on your phone or, just randomly watching little bits of TV but not really fully enjoying it, you might be much happier if you actually put in the effort to figure out what you actually want to do at that time. And again, like I said, definitely incorporating fun and relaxing things to do, not just work and getting things done. So I hope this episode was helpful to you. One thing I didn't get into today is block scheduling. I find block scheduling super helpful in planning my time, but I didn't really talk about that today. If that's something you're interested in, I do have other episodes on block scheduling and you can easily look it up. That wasn't really the route I was going on this episode, but I didn't want to not mention it either, because if you're trying to figure out how to map out your day and you have several different things you want to work on, that can be a really helpful tool to use. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Oh, you know what? I'm so sorry. I totally forgot. There was a really, really nice review, and I meant to say it at the beginning of the episode, and I totally forgot. So I just want to read it. Let me just look it up really quick because I want to make sure I read this review that I recently got, because I always like to share them on the show, and I really, really appreciate any reviews I get because they're really hard to get and they really do help. So I got this review from Flying the Dough. It's a 5-star review. It says, "Down to Earth, one of my favorite shows. I enjoy the Facebook group too. So thank you. I'm really happy you're part of our Facebook group. I'm sorry, that's not part of the review. The reviews is one of my favorite shows. I enjoy the Facebook group too. I like that your advice is always practical and I can relate to most of the things you share. Keep up the good work. Thank you for creating the show. So thank you so much for leaving that review. It's so nice and I really, really appreciate it. I so appreciate someone actually taking the time to go and writing out something really nice like that for me to read and for others to read, because it really helps grow the show. And I'm glad you enjoyed the Facebook group. I'd love to have more of you join. It's a really nice group of people. It's still pretty small, so there's like a handful of us that talk on there, but the more people we could get to contribute to the conversations would be really great. And again, I just really, really appreciate you taking the time to leave a rating and review. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you back here next week. So thank you for checking in for this podcast episode. And don't forget, you can always email me with any questions or suggestions at lolasfrugallife@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at lolasfrugallife. And you can find a blog post for most of my episodes and definitely all of my meal plan episodes at lolasfrugallife.com. You can also join our private listeners group at facebook.com/groups/lolasfrugallife. And if you enjoy the show, please make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen from. And I would love it if you would screenshot the show and tag me on Instagram so I could see you're listening. Also, if you can please take a couple of seconds to rate and review the podcast. Those ratings and reviews are what help the show come up better in search results so that other people can find this podcast. So that will really help me in growing my audience. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have an awesome day.